Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco R28207-9-26D. This is a rim cylinder is what it is. The factory image that they provide isn't what I would like it to be, but nonetheless, here it is. This is what it actually looks like. So this is a rim cylinder. Something tells me this can be turned into a mortise cylinder as well if we were to change the throw member, is what it might be called. That might be convertible. A piece of solid brass material. This is what they will call a thin head rim cylinder. That is meant to infer that the head of that cylinder is a bit thinner, but it's no thinner or thicker really than any other unit, any other rim cylinder typically that you would see. I think it might be more of a, you know, the outside diameter is likely slightly smaller than what you'd end up seeing in applications. So this is an R28207, and let's take some dimensional properties first, just for the sake of it. Rim cylinder bodies aren't measured. They're not, you know, we don't really necessarily need to know what those are. This is about 1 1/4 inch. The back of the cylinder to the end of the tailpiece, about 2.5 inch. It's 1 in 5/32 diameter is what it is. And this is going to be a small format preparation, is what that is. That is for small format. It's best, or all clones of best, is what that would be for. This is in a satin chrome finish. We've taken some dimensional properties. Let's now talk about what you would use this for. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Rim cylinders are very generic pieces of builder's hardware. This happens to be a rim cylinder housing, is what it's actually called. But a rim cylinder is used to control lots of pieces of locks, and generally, rim locks. Rim locks are locks that are surface mounted and usually installed on the outside perimeter of the door. A night latch that you'll have from a variety of manufacturers. Kaba Ilco has night latches that mount to the outside of the door. It has just a slam latch on it. You have a thumb turn or sometimes a key cylinder on the inside. You can have a hold back, so you can turn the thumb turn and push the slide button over, and it will hold the latch in the retracted position so that you can come and go freely. But you need to get in somehow. In almost all instances, you want a cylinder on the outside to be able to enter. Common application would be a bungalow in Chicago, the basement door. That's generally a 4-panel with a 3-light over it or something like that, built, you know, in the early part of the 20th century. You're going to have 6 steps coming up, but that basement door is going to have a rim lock on it. You'll have some lock on it, but there'll be a rim lock on the inside. And that's where you'll see rim cylinders. But this can also be used to bypass an alarm in like a DTEX style unit. It's going to be used anytime that you need to add a cylinder to an auxiliary piece of hardware, generally controlling from the exterior side or the opposite side of the door from where the lock body is. This is called a tailpiece. It's called a cylinder bar, a connecting bar. I've heard the term bar used. Very typical generic piece of flat material, flat metal. So wide, so long, meant to be cut down in length. You'll probably have to trim it down. And because of its overall length, you'd actually be able to use this rim cylinder on doors, depending on the lock prep, but you know, you might be able to make it work on a door as thick as 3 inch. So where else you're going to use it is in those applications. If it's an exit device that is a rim exit device, and you want to have key control with the trim or the cylinder only and maybe a pull handle, a rim cylinder is what you're going to use. They're everywhere. Also, what you're going to get with the R28207 is going to be a cylinder ring. Very typical and common to use that. You'll drill about 1 1/4 inch hole for this. That outside diameter of the head of the cylinder is not much greater, so you'll probably not want to try to not use a trim ring. Or you might substitute something a bit more robust, like a cylinder guard. The diameter, the OD is 1.31. 1.31 is the outside diameter of that. So 1 5/16. The body diameter is 1.145. So not quite 3/16 total. So you wouldn't have a lot of play. So you're going to want to use some sort of cylinder trim ring. You're going to have the retaining plate for the inside of the door. You're going to have the 2 screws. Those are meant to be cut back to length as well. That will thread into the tapped holes in the back of the brass body. And this, if I haven't mentioned it, this is made of brass. You have those 2 screws that will hold the unit through the door. So when you're installing a piece of hardware, you might just need to mount the cylinder by itself. There's this weird piece of plastic, and you get bonus points if you know what that's for. Well, what it's for is if you have a 6-pin or even a 5-pin length small format core, you'll need, if it's 6-pin, to install this. I don't know that you must. Generally, I find that they're not mandatory, but you are meant to get that onto the throw member inside of there, and it's a spacer is what it is. This is prepped to take up to a 7-pin length. You can put 5 or 6-pin into it, but for a 6-pin you'll need 1 spacer, and for 5-pin, which they exist, I've never seen one, you'd need 2 of these spacers technically, but that's what that is for. So into the 07, you can actually make a 6-pin length core work by adding that spacer, is what it is. I don't know if they machined the 06 and 07 versions differently. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, but nonetheless, we will take a look and study that a little bit closer. So what we'll do now is let's switch to the screen view where we can pull up all of our supporting documentation and look at the other part numbers that go along with a cylinder housing for small format. Let's do that now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here's the item that we are looking at. R28207-9. 9 is a reference to the tailpiece. That's on the back. 26D is obviously the finish. So let's take a look at some extended description information here. Rim only. 7-pin, 1 3/8. We measured it a little bit shorter than that. That would make sense because there's no cam on the back of it. Removable cam style. Accepts Arrow, Best, and Falcon cores. Comes with a 1/4-inch trim ring. That's great. Okay, let's look at some photos that we have. There's the label on the box. Everything that's in the box. Your spacer, trim ring, screws, mounting plate, housing itself. Very thin amount of material here. The fact that that is so heavily chamfered is also part of the description. That really presents a small amount of surface area to someone trying to get a pipe wrench on the top of, around the perimeter of that cylinder. Side view. You'd be able to certainly remove these 2 snap rings. I forget the C-rings. I forget the proper term for this. You'd be able to remove both of those and be able to probably convert that into something else. You'll know small format because the lobes are the same size. In large format, that bottom lobe is larger than the top. So if the lobes are the same size, as far as my experience tells me, you'll have small format. Then at that point, it's just going to be a matter of the length of the core. The accessories, and then another separate, different view on that. Okay, there is a link below this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page, and when you click on that, you'll be able to pull up not only all of the Kaba Ilco products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website. But for our purposes, the important part is the brass cylinder manual, but I'm going to look in an older version of it, which is down here. And the reason I'm going to is because they have more images inside of it. 28207. There we go. They do a 6-pin, they do a 7-pin for in the rim cylinders. You'll notice that they have a tapered head version as well. Well, we can all understand the word tapered. They have an image of what one looks like here. That's what a tapered head looks like. Okay. You might need an application that's going to require you to have a greater dimension here before your key or your core gets installed. You might have sliding aluminum storefront type doors that are automatic, and you're going to have a 7-pin small format system there. You might need an additional collar depending on the length of the body. I don't know if they give that to us, but if they do, we'll discover it. Yeah, sure they do. It's a 1-inch. Okay. Whereas the 28207 is 1 3/8. And again, we measured 1 1/4, but that's because there's an absence of a cam. The body itself would be about 1/8 of an inch less. That's normal. So it would absolutely be my guess that you would be able to, if you were to stock these different piece parts, you'd be able to have these 6 and 7-pin mortise and these 6 and 7-pin housings, assuming they're all thin head, and be able to convert them between mortise and rim. You know, I don't know if these holes are tapped that are here. They may or may not be. The housings, if you removed the tailpiece and the throw member or the driver, it's probably all the same piece of brass is the bottom line. Different cams would be available, and obviously this connecting bar is typical. This 862A. There's also a longer one because the tailpiece or the connecting bar is not specific. Actually, the 862A is the long one, so there you go. That makes sense. So you can do a shorter tailpiece as well if you bought the 862, but it would fit onto the back of that all the same. So this catalog is handy, as is the new one, but this catalog that's several years older is better because it has it's just more graphical, is the bottom line. Shows you the 45 series deadbolts, shows you better all of their cylinder broachings that are in the plugs themselves for the different keyways. The tail pieces that can go on their standard rim and mortise cylinders, the cams or tail pieces or connecting bars, and then a list of their mortise cylinders that are here, and a variety of other key and cylinder and locksmith related hardware is in this product offering from Kaba Ilco. Now the other thing that they are quite known for, obviously, are key blanks. So back on that manufacturer's page, there is the link as seen here to the key blank catalog. Everything North American cylinder related is in section 2, which is like a magenta colored section of the book. And as soon as it loads, I'll show that to you. And we can scroll down. Green is section 1. That's automotive. Yeah, so here we go. So we're talking Kaba Ilco. You know, there's nothing specific in here except that we're dealing with, let's say, best. So we can scroll to best because it is alphabetical, and we can start to see the different key blanks they offer and the different keyways, since we're talking small format. This catalog is extremely handy because of the cross-reference charts that are in the back of the catalog. So how that's handy is if someone walks into your shop with a jet key blank and you want to figure out what the Kaba Ilco version of it is, you should be able to type in that jet part number and find the Kaba Ilco version of it. This catalog's a bit of a drag, so here we go. So from Sargent to Ilco, I don't know that it's alphabetical. I would imagine that it is. We were in Sargent, we were in Orion, still in Orion. Let's scroll up a little bit more and see if we can get to Jet. Dominion, we may have gone too far. Anyway, you get the point. So if you're searching for something in particular and it is visible on the bow of the key, you might just be able to find this document handy to allow you to convert back and forth, is the bottom line. ESP is another brand. Here we go. Here's some Jet. Many of these companies, Dominion, Jet, Orion, they're no longer either. ESP, they're no longer. Well, ESP I think is still around. There you go. Now, back on that manufacturer's page, we do have, for fun, we've got a 1950 Ilco Independent Lock Company catalog, if you want to see what they were making 70 years ago. We've got one that's 50 years old. Key machine manuals are kept here, as well as other encyclopedic documents. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. If you have any questions on the R28207 cylinder housing or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. I am a big fan of Kaba Ilco. They're not the only manufacturer who makes aftermarket cylinders and keyways for the big name lock manufacturers, but they're probably the largest, would be my guess. They have the largest footprint as far as I can tell. I prefer their material not only because it's substantially more reasonable when you need to purchase lots of cylinders, or even one, but the quality is exceptional. Very, because almost everything in their product line, cylinder-wise, is made of brass, which is a very agreeable base material for cylinder work. The material just works well, and I think if you're doing a project where you need a generic cylinder, Kaba Ilco is a great idea. If you need a cylinder that's going to take a particular keyway, let's say you've got a client of ours, there is a campground/hotel in Alabama, and they have cabins and they have lots of doors. They've got some motel rooms, some cabins, some campsites. It's all Corbin 60. So genuine Corbin cylinders would be a good idea, but they're about 4 or 5 times the cost compared to a Kaba Ilco cylinder, whether it's going to be key in the knob or a deadbolt or a mortise or a rim cylinder. So they do a really great job with it. So Kaba Ilco absolutely has a place when you're doing that sort of work. And they've got a couple of dozen plus keyways, 5-6 pin, sometimes 7 pin. They've even got a 3/4 inch length mortise cylinder, not diameter, that's a peanut cylinder, but a really short 3/4 inch length. There's only one keyway I think it's available in. Nonetheless, their key blanks are of exceptional quality, and there you go. And their tech support is exceptional as well. Any questions on the R28207 or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.